morning and welcome to Practical Christian Lessons. I'm Joshua Pearsall. The headsets are on. That means we are going to be going through the complete works of Jacob Arminius today. If you're new to the channel, we have quite a few of these. There will be a link to a playlist of these in the doobly-doo below. If you've been here for a while, you'll notice that I've shaved a lot of my beard. It's because the summer heat has finally won out, and now I feel like I look like a child again. I don't like it. But we're going through this. If anyone has not been here before, these are the Anthony Yule edited edition. And they are, I'm not sure if it's the exact same, but if not, it's extremely close. The same that's linked below on Christian Classic, a thorough library, which luckily for us put them up online completely for free. And we share those below so you can follow along with this if you don't have a physical copy. But this is what we will be working from in here. And grab your non-sponsored drink. As for some quick announcements, anyone who's not interested, just skip forward about 1-2 minutes and you'll get straight to the reading. We are going to have some things moving forward, and I realize I don't have anything on right now. And just things to look out for and plans on shifting how we do at least some of the weekly videos, if not every week. We're still going to keep doing 3 videos a week is the plan currently. But rather than doing... Our Monday series won't change. It's going to be a reading of Jacob Arminius until we finish. And then the following week is going to be our Means of Grace series that we're currently in until we finish that. Then the other 2 videos, which are normally read-throughs, is going to be one video that's a read-through, probably of a Wesleyan essay of some kind. And then the other video will alternate on video various different topics that I'm either feeling led to on that specific week or have pre-planned ahead of time, possibly following some series, maybe not. We'll see exactly how that's going to work out. Just letting you know that will be coming. I don't know exactly when that's going to be incorporated here on the channel, but just so no one's surprised. Things that are going to be incorporated in this other video of the week is going to be things like Protestant apologetics and apologetics in general. We're not just going to focus on only Protestant apologetics here when we do apologetics. But that is one of the things I'm most well-versed in. Expect a lot of things on the perspicuity of Scripture in particular. So apologetics in general, and maybe some specific Wesleyan theological topics will get sprinkled in and out. We'll see exactly what comes up there. No defined, settled plan yet. Just be on the lookout for that. But for us now, we are not going to get through a ton of this today. I do not have a lot of time, unfortunately. But we are going to get through about of this very small print, about a page and a half. And I think it's very fitting. Protestant apologetics was one of the announcements today. As you will see where we left off was point 4 on page 66, at the end of point 4. And we are now going into the next section. But the Popish Church exhibits to us 3 remedies, the Roman Catholic Church. First, that for the sake of certainty, we that is the word mall, M-A-L-L, have recourse to the Church Universal. However, since the whole of this church cannot meet together, the Court of Rome has appointed in its place a representative assembly consisting of the Pope, the cardinals, the bishops, and the rest of the prelates who are devoted to the Roman See, and subject to the pontiff. But in addition to this, because it believes that it is possible for all the cardinals, bishops, and prelates to err, even when united together in one body, and because it considers the Pope alone to be placed beyond the possibility of error, it declares that we must apply to him for the sake of obtaining a decisive judgment concerning religion. This remedy is not only vain and inefficient, but it is far more difficult to induce the rest of the Christian world to adopt it than any controverted article in the whole circle of religion. And since the papists endeavor to prove this point from the Scriptures, by that very circumstance they declare that the Scriptures are the only sanctuary to which we can repair for religious information. Secondly, their next remedy is proposed, if I may be allowed the expression, merely for the sake of form, and lies in the writings and agreement of the ancient fathers. But since the Christian fathers have not all been authors, and few of those who have written have concerned themselves with controversies, which takes away from us the universal consent of all of them together, this remedy is also useless, because it is a fact to the truth of which the papists themselves assent, that it was possible for each of these fathers to err. From this circumstance, therefore, we conclude that the consent of all of them is not free from the risk of error, even if each had separately declared his own individual opinion in his writings. Besides, this general agreement is no easy matter, nay, it is to be obtained with the greatest difficulty, because it is in the power of very few persons, if any man whatever, to make themselves acquainted with such universal consent, both on account of the bulky and almost innumerable volumes in which the writings of the fathers are contained, and because the dispute among different parties is no less concerning the meaning of those fathers than concerning that of the Scriptures, the contents of which are comprised in this book of small size when compared with the dimensions of their massy tomes. We are thus sent forth on an endless excursion, that we may at length be compelled to return to the sovereign pontiff. Thirdly, the other remedy of the papist is not much dissimilar to the preceding one. It is thus stated: the decrees of former councils may be consulted, from which, if it should appear that the controversy has been decided, the final judgment then passed upon it must stand in the place of a definitive sentence. Nor must any matter, the merits of which have been once decided, be brought again into judgment. But of what avail would this be? If a good cause has been badly defended, and had been overpowered and borne down, not by any defect in itself, but through the fault of those who were its defenders, and who were either awed into silence through fear, or betrayed their trust by an incompetent, foolish, and injudicious defense, and of what consequence does such a remedy appear? If one and the same spirit of error have conducted on such an occasion both the attack and the defense, but grant that it has been fairly defended, yet I declare that the cause of religion, which is the cause of God, is not an affair to be submitted to human decision, or to be judged of man's judgment. The papist add a fourth remedy, which, on account of its fierce and most violent efficacy, will not easily be forgotten by us as a people who have been called to endure some of its cruelties. It acts like the fulcrum of a lever for confirming all the preceding suggestions, and this is the foundation of the whole composition. It is this: whosoever refuses to listen to the counsels and writings of the fathers, and to receive them as explained by the Church of Rome, whosoever refuses to listen to the Church, and especially to her husband, that high priest and prophet, the vicar of Christ, and the successor of St. Peter, let that soul be cut off from among his people. And he who is unwilling to yield to an authority so sacred must be compelled, under the sword of the executioner, to express his consent, or he must be avoided, which, in their language, signifies that he must be deprived of life. To murder and utterly to destroy the adverse and gainsaying parties is indeed a most compendious method of removing all dissensions. In the midst of these difficulties, some persons have invented other remedies, which, since they are not within the power of man, ought, according to their views, to be asked of God in prayer. One is, that God would be pleased to raise someone from the dead and send him to men. From such a messenger, they might then hope to know what is God's decisive judgment concerning the clashing opinions of the various dissidents. But this remedy is discountenanced by Christ when he says, "If they hear not Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded, though one rose from the dead." Luke 16:31. Another one of these remedies is that God would by a miracle distinguish that party of whose sentiments he approves, which appears to have been a practice in the time of Elijah. But if no sect be entirely free from every particle of error, can it be expected that God will set the seal of his approval on any portion of falsity? But this wish is unnecessary, since the things which Christ did and spoke are written that we might believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that believing we might have life through his name. John 20:31. But the remedy itself, if applied, would prove to be ineffectuous. For even in the days of Christ and his apostles, dissensions existed, and many of them were excited against the primitive heralds of the gospel, although they had acquired great renown by the benevolent exercise of their miraculous powers, with which they were endued. To this remark I must add, the approaching advent of Antichrist is predicted to be with all power and signs and lying wonders. 2 Thessalonians 2:9. A third remedy, of a horrid description remains to be noticed, which, nevertheless, is resorted to by some persons. It is an adjuration of the devil, to induce him by means of incantations and exorcisms to deliver an answer from the bodies of deceased persons concerning the truth of such doctrines as are at any period the existing subjects of controversy. This method is both a mark of the utmost desperation and an execrable and insane love of demons. But dismissing all these violent medicines that are of bad character and import, I proceed to notice such as are holy, true, and saving. These I distribute into preparatives and aphoretics or removers of this dissension. And unfortunately, that is where we're going to have to cut off now. But hopefully, next one, we do have a fair few pages left. But I will do my best to make sure I have the time to read all of that for our next video. So we'll finish this all up. But as such as with the word mall there in this case, as has happened in several readings through this, this is not completely modern English. So when you're reading this, keep that in mind. You might need to look up a few terms. On top of, Jacob Arminius, especially in his orations, is not writing for just the regular lay-level audience. He is often writing to a very scholastic audience, to those he is educating at the school he was a teacher at, and for a short time was part of the co-head. And so he's writing to an audience he expects to know a lot of very specific terms and have a lot of background knowledge that he's just going to assume is there, unlike might happen with a lot of some of our more modern Western style of writings. So if you need to look up something up or something sounds kind of funny, go ahead and go look it up. It probably is kind of funny and doesn't mean exactly what you think it means. With all that out of the way, I think that's going to be it today. Keep a lookout. We're going to have some announcements coming out through the next few videos this week, or maybe just an announcement video itself, depending on how much time I have. I might walk through some of these. So that's going to be it. You guys have a wonderful day, and God bless.